Welcome to another terrific TBI Tuesday. I am Jamal from RVA, and this guy's.
I'm Justin. Welcome to the POD where we're running on CPT here in SEP. And we're gonna get it.
They ain't even need to know we was running late. They ain't even need to know we was running
I couldn't resist myself. I was feeling lyrical for a second, letting my
late.
whimsy out.
Yeah, CPT, that was funny though. But welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. Got a couple little things we want to touch on the pod today. I'll start it off. I was uh, I was at a gathering today for small humans that are celebrating their solar returns. And
Hmm.
so there was a mouse and Charles Edward cheese, I believe it was. So that whole thing. But
Uh,
whilst the small people were engaged in whatever they were doing, the adults got a chance to sit down and chop it up and talk about some politics. Mhm. And so two of the group members are business people. They own a number of different businesses. And so I said, let me just see what the feeling is. And so I said, well, we've talked a lot about Trump. Matter of fact, we talked a lot about Trump since the beginning of the year because it was kind of like Trump v. Biden, and then Biden was kind of falling off anyway, so it's kind of just Trump. But with VP Harris now in the mix, I just kind of wanted to know, like, what do y'all think? Who do you think is going to pull it out in November? And to my surprise, evenly split. These are two black men, right? Two established black men, and one was like, well, I think Harris gonna snatch it. And the other guy was like, nah, I think it's Trump by a mile. And so I was like, let's dig into it a little bit. Why do you why do you believe what do you believe? And so the one guy, I'll call him Guy A, names have been changed to protect the innocent. Guy A says, listen, these black women mean business. Like they are serious. Harris got 100% of the black women vote sewed up, with the exception of like a Candace Owens. And that's they don't participate in any polls. So all this stuff you're seeing,
I was gonna mention that.
yeah, you don't. They just gonna come out and vote for him. So I was like, huh, you might have something. So what do you think? What do you think? If you had to call it today, who do you think is going to be in the White House in January?
Trump. I think it'd be Trump.
Any particular reason why?
I do believe that the Democratic base is legitimately energized, but young people are just too lazy, man. Um, I think they're gonna fail the party. Because I mean they're not really courting those voters. I think maybe for that exact reason, they're like, man, they are lazy. So they've been working on basically those crossover votes or like those independents, kind of like in the middle, basically your moderates and such, your working class. That's been the focus that they've been on lately. So yeah, and working the swing states have been the Democrats. So and Trump has just been hitting the breadbasket, just shoring up his rural vote.
Mm.
But I mean, there's some potential for movement in in the Midwest, but it's not a great deal. But I still think Trump would pull it out, and I still expect him to. And part of it, I just like you said, was the polls. I was thinking to myself, was like, a lot of people that vote for Trump are not going to take their time to fill out a poll anyway. So you're going to be missing. There's going to be a silent. I don't want to call him majority, but a significant patch that's going to just be silent in this. And I would like to think that scientifically they would include that somehow in the margin of error, but I doubt that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The one thing I'll tell you what. I'm going to take the other avenue and say that Vice President Harris is about to be the first female president. And the reason why I say that is because of feminism. Like every woman in the United States is part of that. What wave feminism are we on now? Is it third wave feminism? Maybe fourth wave? I don't know.
I'm not clear.
But they are they have got this whole election in a headlock. Like this is like our time to shine. Like this is for women what President Barack Obama was to the black community,
Yeah.
right? So this is like, and that's a larger segment, like 50% of the population. Like, I'm not gonna go so far as to say that this election could split households, right? Where you have a husband have a man who's kind of like, look, I need my dollars and cents to look right, Trump, right? And then you're gonna have these ladies, and they're gonna be like, listen, it's time for a woman to sit in a seat and do her thing. I got a neighbor that popped up. They've got it doesn't say anything, it says comma in red, white, and blue right in the window. That just popped up last night. I guess it was in DC or something. But anyway, I think I can see she's gonna carry California and carry New York. I think she's gonna carry all of the Democratic strongholds. I think it's really just gonna come down to independent voters in Michigan. Michigan's going to be a spot. Virginia could be a spot.
I strongly believe she's going to lose Michigan.
Yeah, she's got to do some work there. Pennsylvania, I'm not sure. Philly's a big spot about that. But the Eagles, let's go Eagles. They had to address a fake Kamala Harris endorsement video that popped up. It's back to that stuff we was talking about before. And people just generating fake videos to get clicks and views and to, cause some things to look a way that they're not. Virginia, though, I don't know. It could. VA's like one of those purple spot. Where's purple state? And Bob Good is out. I I don't know if we got enough Democratic muscle to make a difference here. But she needs to pay attention to Virginia, North Carolina. I don't. Georgia's going to be tough because of all the redistricting that Republicans have been engaged in the last couple of years. So DeKalb County not going to be as strong as it typically has been. But yeah, she's got it. If she can, if she can get Michigan, Virginia, and North Carolina, she's in there. That's what I think. So
I,
I'm gonna say the women are gonna do it.
I think she'll pretty easily. I think she'll definitely get Virginia. North Carolina, I think that's too close to call. Yeah, I still think that was too close to call, but I still believe that she's going to lose Michigan. So, yeah, that one looks very much like a coin toss to me. Like
Hmm.
just thinking about those three states.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with that assessment. Michigan's gonna be really hard for her. The Democrats are really taking a blow there, so they're gonna have to do some work. I mean, and she needs to outline some more of her policies and take some more of a little bit more of a hardcore stance on some things. I know she kind of toughened up her stance on the border and everything, but I think what people are really thinking about, the economy is number one. Stuff is expensive: housing, rent, food.
and
What's
I'm
your
not
plan
so
for that?
sure her plan is going to even help with the home buying because she's talking about $25,000 for first time home buyers. That's just going to end up boosting the market price because buyers and realtors are going to see that free money out there. I'm like, well, I can charge an extra 10% on this property, and that's
Yeah,
exactly what they're going to do.
yeah. It's the answer to the housing situation is to let that inventory blow up. So what you want to see in order to get home prices down is for a lot of homes to be, for sale. You want to have that inverse of where you've got more inventory than you have buyers available to buy or ready, willing, and able to buy. So interest rates are still too high. Um, I know the Fed is scheduled to look at a 25 basis point interest rate reductions. That's nothing. That's not even for us. That's really for the banks, because the banks have been complaining about high cost of funds for like the last 6 months, 6, 8 months, and I think they've probably been pressuring the Fed chair, like, look, man, just shave off something and like give us a break. But that 25 basis points, you're not even going to notice that. As far as like credit cards, home mortgages, that's nothing. That's nothing. And you need to see like a 200 basis point movement, really, to before you can be like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can do this payment. And until that happens, it's nothing. And it's nothing she can do about it. So I think if maybe she's a little bit more real about what needs to happen, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt.
Man, very, very, very small part of me, very, very small part of me, thought I was going to vote for her come November. But then she doubled down on the Zionist propaganda,
You know,
and I just had to let it go. I mean, I remember back in my day, the Democrats were known as the Doves. They were typically the dovish party when it came to going to war. That changed, of course, after 9/11, where it just became a well, it wasn't even it wasn't even a partisan issue at all. It was just a country issue, an American issue.
mhm.
But now there are elements in the Republican Party that I think are that have a greater influence on Dove politics, anti-war politics than do the Democrats. Because even if they were to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza, which I do think we're going to get very soon now, which actually, yeah, I think we should mention Israel for a second too. Crap, lost my train of thought. I messed that one up.
No,
What was
well,
that?
you were talking about. No, you can get it back. You were talking about how the Republicans are a little bit more dovish on
Right,
war.
right, right. And I mean, I know Trump is all about peace through strength. Like, he's you're like, we're cool. Just don't touch me, or I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go overboard. He's just, you know, and that's why nobody messed with it. And that's why nobody touched any Americans for 4 years. Like,
Mhm.
nah, not that guy, because he's like asking me, cry havoc, let's slip the dogs of war, but give them
Mhm.
rabies first. Like that's how I roll. So I mean, I'm not even mad at it. But it's also why, but that can go a little deep off the other end. Hey, girl, Kitty's giving me love bites because she's just loving being a daddy's lap right now. But the protests in Israel that are ongoing, have you read anything about those at all?
I had read a little bit about those. They seem to have grown a little bit. I think there was a kind of an anti-war movement that had been popped off, kind of, right. I'd say maybe a month or two after hostilities kicked off, and now it's just kind of grown and grown and grown.
Yeah, but the thing is, like with the 6 Israelis that were found recently shot, they're like, we could have got them home back in June. I think I can't remember if it was May. It might have actually been as early as mid-May, when Hamas was like, yeah, we agreed to the American proposal, and Israel decided to add complications or add
Mhm.
more additional conditions. And what I heard from when listening to interviews of Israelis on the ground, that was something they brought up. They said we could have had peace by now, but Netanyahu, or Bibi as he's nicknamed, keeps adding conditions, and we say the blood is on his hands now. Now, granted, the blood is really on Hamas's hands,
Mhm.
but I get what they're saying because Netanyahu has no interest in peace. He will
Right.
sacrifice every single one of those hostages if that's what he's got to do in order to achieve his real goal, and that's the destruction of the entire Palestinian state and reassemble it as strictly as a Jewish Israeli state.
Mhm. Yeah, I think he's. I also think he's loathed. Like, how long has he been prime minister now?
Oh man, don't get me a line. About 7 or 8 years, I think.
Mm,
No, it's been
um,
longer than that, isn't it? Hasn't it? I think it's
yeah.
been like 11 years. I want to say it's like 11 years. I don't know, man. It's been a while. Because I think Ariel Sharon stepped down in like 2006. So, or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's let me see. Let me see. I got to find out now. All right. Three times.
No.
96 to
Can
99,
you break while we
29 to
wait?
21, and his current. Yes, so you're right. So wait, 10 years? But the dude is, I don't think he really, I'm not going to say it's just him, but certainly his administration, um, I don't think they're in any hurry to manifest any peace. I agree with you on that. Um, and it's funny because Guy B really brought that up going back to Trump about how there was peace. There wasn't any wars, no global conflicts, at least none that we were involved in. Um, during his presidency, those are the facts. As soon as Biden got in, here we come with all this and all that. But if you're Trump, why do you want this? Why do you want the White House again?
Why is it? Well, how?
Why would Trump want the White House again? I mean, he
Well,
already he already had one term. Obviously, he's kind of like the Republican incumbent because he's recently president, but it's a thankless job in a lot of ways. And he doesn't need the connections. He's already got connections. So what is he after for the presidency? Again, this was a conversation we had.
I think he wants the same thing that everybody wants who runs for president, and that's to have a chance to steer the nation in a direction they think will be best.
I
Whether it's
think this
for them
man,
or whatever is immaterial. It's always out of self interest.
well, yeah, yeah. So I think, and this was part of our discussion at the Chuck E. Cheese table. This man has more charges than an Amex Platinum card, and I really think that he wants the presidency. I think he's gonna do or try to do all the things that he says he's gonna do. But I think also part of it is he wants to get at the DOJ. He wants to get at um, some of the people that he feel have wronged him politically. And really, the part that I'm worried about is I think when he said we're going to make some changes, you're not going to have to worry about voting. We'll have it fixed. So you won't have to worry about it going forward. I think this man really believes that he's going to make some amendments to the Constitution. Exactly how he goes about doing that and exactly what he wants to do, I don't know. Um, but part of me was a little bit surprised that he, kind of relinquished power the way that he did. I mean, January 6th, for example, that was just nuts. And I think anybody who could do that and really have that, I didn't do anything, but then stand up there and say, go down to the Capitol. We're gonna tell Mike Pence to do the right thing. I'm gonna be there with you. And so, of course, people who love him went to the Capitol thinking he was gonna be there. My man wasn't nowhere near the Capitol. My man went in completely the opposite direction. My man went to 1600 Pennsylvania and tucked it in. Ridiculous. So on the one hand, you've got your run of the mill sort of, this is a sort of politician we've always had with Kamala Harris, you know, piss on you without the courtesy of calling it rain. Really probably not going to do anything. But then on the other hand, you've got somebody who's probably going to do a lot, probably going to be able to do a lot of the things that he claims he wants to do, and maybe then some. How much do you trust him? That's the question.
I'm not terribly concerned about that. I mean, yeah, he can whip people up in a frenzy and talk some stuff, but the vast majority of Americans aren't going to go for that stuff anyway. Basically, strongly believe that, especially now that they've seen it, the intelligence apparatus that we have in place will be sure to eliminate any threat, foreign or domestic.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. However, well, the intelligence apparatus, we better not mess with that. Moving on. Yeah, domestic tech. Well, I think what do you? Well, I guess the Dems really have to address the border now because they've already missed the mark on that particular part. We've talked about it on the pod how there were upwards of 300,000 people a month coming across, and at various spots, and most of them not Hispanic, most of them Asian, African, Eastern European. But now, now that we've sort of closed down the gates a little bit and starting to clamp back down on that, how do you think sort of immigrant communities, people from Latin America are going to feel about the Dems at this point now?
I don't think I don't think it's really going to matter much because they're still going to. Well, I mean, really, a lot of immigrant groups still tend to be fairly moderate to conservative anyway. It's
Hmm.
not even really a guarantee that an immigrant is going to be a Democrat. Yeah, I get that they're kind of bringing them in, and they want to be the face the welcoming face. I'm trying not to use the word, but I'll say it. I'm just going to use it. They're basically grooming the immigrants for future voters, and that's been the fear of Republicans. And there is legitimacy to that concern. The Democrats are definitely like yeah, grooming.
I don't think. Well, I know some people have been like, "Oh, they come over here and they can vote." I don't know any person who hasn't been granted permanent residency, kind of citizenship status that can vote. Right? Like I've
Right?
not heard that.
Wait, what? No, I
Like,
mean, once you're a citizen, you can vote. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. But I've heard people sort of say, "Oh, they're bringing them over here so they can pad the vote." They're not eligible. They can't vote. Not yet. Not until they, you know, take the oath. You know, but for some reason, they can get these resources. Anyways, I digress. I digress. But let's switch gears a little bit. Talk about some non-politics. What do you got on the apolitical front?
Hmm. Football season is coming.
Right in
You
time.
know, I have a love hate relationship when it comes to sports because too much time, money, and attention is put into it. I feel it's. I mean, I think it'll always have a place. I mean, we are still physical beings, so we're gonna have physical, entertainment, interactions, and things like that. But just with the sheer amount of money that's in sports and the kind of influence that it has, and people like deep in the woe is me's, like back in 2020, 2021, just because they couldn't watch certain sporting events. It concerns me deeply that even now, as we understand it, we even have a phrase for it, bread and circuses.
Hmm.
We really are a bunch of ostriches. We really will just stick our heads in the sands of streaming, the streaming sands, and hope that the danger passes us by. And then where that's of course strictly not the case, it'll never be the case. I know a thing or two about escapism, and it doesn't work, y'all. It doesn't work.
So, do you think Americans are all right? So, keep going with that. Do you think like Americans going to be asleep at the wheel? Because I know when some people talk about football and sports like NFL, NBA, NHL, NASCAR, they're saying that they put these spectacles in front of you so that all you can talk about and think about is the next game that's coming up, how your team's going to do, blah 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 blah, and all the other headlines fly under the radar.
Well, yeah, I mean, they always say, like during the Super Bowl, there's always something shady that happens during the Super Bowl. Um, I mean, I think that's the same as like like basically any sort of major event that's like all the buzz. It's a great time to start sliding some things through, because the media, of course, is going to chase whatever's going to make us the most money. So they're not going to talk about what's happening, with this business or this catastrophe that's polluted this river, or some sort of legislation that the most of the public would not agree to. Things like that. That's an excellent time to push those things through, because no one's going to be talking about it, and no one's going to want to talk about it because they want to talk about this exciting thing,
Right.
because we have there's because not only just tribalism, but a lot of people are not have a lack of self fulfillment, and so they attach themselves to celebrity or teams, country identities, anything like that, in order to get auto fulfilled, because they can't do it themselves. So by identifying with something, they are giving themselves a place, an identity, a purpose, a meaning, a value, but it's not based on how they perceive themselves, unfortunately. And that's how you end up with like that's like we touched on it previously in a previous episode. The identity politics, people will vote against their own interests so long as they're part of the club.
Yeah.
And we have to break away from that groupthink. We have to be willing to we can't hold our leaders accountable if we're going to practice tribalism at the same time.
Hmm.
Those things just cannot vibe. So in order to hold people accountable, sometimes you're going to have to make an unpleasant decision, but it takes a little bit of pain to make a lot of gain sometimes.
Right. No pain, no gain. Talk to me about The Simpsons. Right. So, and I bring this up because, and this is just a thought that I had. It seems like the weird things that go on, you catch a glimpse a couple of years in advance. Like they put it in a movie, a TV show, something, and so they have to like, I don't know. It's like the shady parts of the world. There's like some unwritten rule that they have to like showcase it first and then do it later. But The Simpsons seem to gotten, this seems to be one of the platforms, right, where stuff comes up and they say, oh, they predicted, Kobe Bryant's death in a helicopter crash. They predicted Trump will be back in 2024. The 9/11, all the different, Barack Obama. What do you think about The Simpsons?
I don't know. I mean, maybe somebody has a crystal ball back there in the creative team. I don't believe in coincidences, but I don't really know how to explain how that's happening either.
Can some of the
But
higher up
truth
at the
is,
studio be connected to the movers and shakers of the world?
I mean, yeah, I mean, you've been a cultural cornerstone in the animated entertainment space for a pair of generations now. Surely you know someone,
Mhm.
and and your show has been influential, and it is a formative part of many people's lives. So yeah, I mean, there's influence there, and maybe some things to share, but I still don't think that they just happen to know that Trump was gonna become president and things like that. But I do think that maybe they said, hey, what if this actually happened? Like actually seeing rumblings of things and saying, well, let's just make an episode on that, and they go with whatever would be the weirdest outcome of
Mhm.
whatever the tea leaves are showing.
Yeah, it's aliens. Well, I don't want to go. I don't want to go paranormal on anybody. You want to talk about a Venezuelan connection?
I mean, I had someone ask me if I knew about the Venezuelans taking over apartments or something like that. Apparently, in Aurora, Colorado, this is according to Newsweek, Fox News, Denver 7, the local station there, that some Venezuelan gangs have reportedly taken over several apartment complexes. They're carrying long arms and pistols, and they are even extorting people for rent money. But the police keep saying that they can't do anything until something actually happens. But apparently, there's an ongoing investigation, so they don't want to go after something that is something minor. when they're trying to potentially catch the entire, basically dragnet the entire situation, try and catch everything, as
Mhm.
opposed to nitpicking like the smaller, just getting ones and twos here when they can try and decapitate or at least make a large scale arrest or raid. But they are making arrests reportedly, but it just kind of goes it just smacks at the dangers of letting people in. Now, granted, yeah, clearly they're American gangs too, but doesn't mean that we want more.
Mhm.
And plus, like a lot of the American gangs, they just aren't as they aren't as potent as they used to be. A lot of the attention has moved to other areas of like of what we now would consider traditional terrorism, or a lot of these foreign outfits. So, and then of course, Fox News is always very happy to let us know whenever someone is here illegally and commits a crime. They're gonna let you know, even though statistically speaking, immigrants do commit crimes at a lower rate because when you're on the hot seat already, you're not going to go and do dirt, so you can get deported right back to where you started. I
Right.
mean, it's just common sense there. So yeah, so I mean, I get why, if from a strictly pragmatic sense, I get why they're getting benefits and us homegrowns are not, but it doesn't make it right, or at least I'm not going to see it as being right. I mean, basically, it comes down to those are people that are going to want to assimilate, and they're going to want to assimilate fully, and also because they are not natural born citizens, they can be deported at any time or have whatever allows them to stay their visa revoked and then once again sent home or detained in
Yeah.
some other sort of way. They have built-in controls for this population, so why not grow it when it's an easier one to control and it's going to cause you fewer problems? I
Mhm.
get it.
Yeah.
Just doesn't mean we gotta like it.
Now you're right about that. But Aurora, Colorado, a place already had its share of troubles, hasn't it?
Honestly, I don't remember.
I
But I
think
mean, I know that Colorado is one of the areas, or probably like Denver, but or Colorado Springs maybe. I know they had a lot of issues with moving in a lot of asylum seekers into the housing areas and finding ways to pay for it where other public services are going to waste. I mean, honestly, I was to spend asylum until further notice. I'm completely for shutting the border down hard and only basically only taking congressionally approved
asylum seekers.
asylum seekers based on very specific circumstances. But we're not just going to keep taking lottie dottie everybody when we're struggling so much with the native population here
Yeah.
in America.
Yeah, I think it's time to press pause on that from all over the world. Like we're not just going to pause it for people who want to come over the southern border. I think if you're from Europe, pause. If you're from the Middle East, pause. If you're from Africa, pause. If you're from Asia, pause. Anywhere that's not already here, pause. I agree with that. You know, Aurora had that mass shooting in 2012 in that theater, and then I
Right.
think they've had
Yeah.
some other stuff going on in there as well. So I know they really don't want this kind of attention on them. But I hope everybody's okay out there. It's another reason why you need to and guy 1 and 2 and I both talked about this. That's why you got to have some hardware at the house, just in case, bro. Got to have some hardware at the house. I believe in it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
All right.
Cops will not get there quickly enough. But I mean, y'all do you, man. Y'all do you. Because when shit hits the fan, it'll be easier for me to collect the goods I need. Because if you can't protect what you got, you're just holding on to it for me.
Hey, that's
It
real.
just is what it is.
That's real tough. That 48 laws of power is gonna hit different if it hit the fan first, right? Yeah, we gonna see. See who been reading. Well, I think that's gonna do it
I
for
get
me,
after
man.
finish.
Anything
I'm
you
sorry.
wanna anything you wanna kind of finish on?
Oh no, I didn't expect to be quite this dry today, but here we are. But I mean, I'm just yeah, I just trying to push through this here week, and honestly, even though I talk stuff about it, I'm just recognizing the hypocrisy and the weirdness of it all. I mean, I'm looking forward to some football starting myself, so go Commanders. So yeah,
NFC East. Uh, yeah, just don't. And I used to get bent out of shape when the Eagles lost, man. Like I used to, like if they lost a game, I would sit down and be pissed. Like this is some BS. And then I've seen the players on the field dapping each other up, loving on each other like good game, bro. I'm just like, why am I mad? It's the game.
Well, I mean, they can't be mad. I mean, they're getting paid either way.
Heck
It's like,
yeah. With it
I
cashing
mean,
them
I know.
check.
I mean, that I don't. I know that, and I mean, I listen to a decent amount of sports radio. Like in the morning, it's like my background noise.
Mhm.
And some of the older like former players, like, man, I don't like that whole after the game dapping up the other team. That's your enemy. You're supposed to hate him. Like, man, y'all doing too much. You're doing too much. I don't need to. I don't need to dislike anybody because they play for another team.
Yeah,
I want the team to win because for some reason I have this weird investment in the team. I don't know why.
true
When I
fan.
was growing up, I mean, my grandfather was a Cowboys fan. My mom was a Steelers fan. My uncle was Eagles fan. But somehow it's like, go Redskins. Like, I don't know where that came from. My
That
best
was
friend,
all
like
you, bro.
before you came along, my best friend was a Bills fan. His family was literally from Buffalo. So I mean, it's like I don't know what happened. It just happened, and then I get kind of emotional, and like I'm hoping I'll find out tomorrow morning if I can get some free tickets to this Giants game. Gonna hop on that train, be like, deuces, y'all. I love trains. I like riding trains. If you've never ridden a train, ride a train. It's cheap and it's efficient. So give it a whirl.
Yeah. I took one up to Baltimore recently, and it was during rush hour. Like from that 7 to what time do I have to be there? Like 7 to 10. I got to be there around 10. We had just a handful of stops. Didn't have to worry about anybody driving crazy. Stepped back, read my book, ate my little snack, and got off the train. It was great. Highly recommend it.
I'm looking forward to Amtrak's expansion. Matter of fact, that's something we should definitely touch on at some point. Infrastructure, particularly transportation infrastructure,
Oh yeah,
and some of the challenges with that. I mean, I get it. I know it's hard to really establish good public transportation around here because of the size of the country, but we can definitely do better.
yeah.
We can absolutely do better.
Well,
But that's all
that's
I
for doing for
got.
me.
Check us out. You can hit us up on the Gmail. That's number two Black Pod. Also, you can check us on the TikTok, which apparently that's where most of y'all are gonna see us from anyway. The Black Independence or TBI Pod. I don't know if Jamal has any social C wants to shout out.
Now we are on YouTube. Still thinking about Facebook. Are we on Rumble yet?
We're on Rumble, but
Not really there.
I had some feelings about them recently. So
Okay.
yeah, I haven't posted to them except for like that one video. But we'll
Maybe,
talk about that later.
maybe Rumble. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see about Rumble. We'll see.
Well, definitely engage with us. Let us know if there's any topics that you'd like us to cover. Thanks to the people on TikTok who commented and engaged on the videos. Anything you want us to talk about, definitely drop in the comments to this video, and we'll pick that up and maybe bring a few nuggets over into the next TBI Tuesday. With that, I love you. Be safe, kind to each other, and Godspeed. Peace.
Eat dark chocolate.
That's so random. That's so random, man.